Alright, how y'all doing today? Cheryllee back with another video. Cheryllee back with another video. I am Cheryl from the Everything Cheryllee brand. With Kanye West in the background. Who Kanye West is. So today I just have a few gentlemen I want to talk about. I want to speak on. So well, most of my talks usually be about business. First of all, I am Cheryl from the Everything Cheryllee brand, so I'm working on building my own brand, working on building a strong, quality, trustworthy brand for you, the customer. So I usually talk about marketing, advertising, promoting, how you build a brand, how you build a strong, quality brand, how you create. I guess I would say how you create customer, great customer service, how you create that customer value for your customer, in your products and your services, how you create that customer value, how you create customer satisfaction, marketing channels, target market, what target markets are you aiming for, marketing channels, social media, text message marketing, email marketing, whatever way you see fit in your business to market to your customers. Your market your products and your services. Pull in those customers and keep them coming back. What things are you doing to be unique in your business? What are you doing that maybe other businesses are not doing? Are you do you have a strategy to outcompete your competitors? You have a strategy to outcompete your competitors. In other words, say for instance, you working. I mean, where you're running a business, you're working in a business as a manager, you own the business, you're CEO, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Executive Officer, or Manager, whatever your role, whatever your title is in your business. What are you doing to bring that information in? 9 times out of 10, the managers will be the ones with the strategy, business strategy, marketing strategy, bringing in those customers, keep them customers coming back. So keep them coming back. What are you doing to keep your customers coming back? Is your product good? Are you constantly being innovative, creative, making changes? Total quality management. Total quality management means all employees, all the managers, all the employees working together to improve all processes and all departments throughout the whole organization, so you can create that quality within the organization and every department, in all the departments, creating that total quality management. So once you create that total quality management in all your departments and all your processes meaning like your customer service, your human resources department, whatever processes you have, depending on the type of business that you have. So you create that total quality management in all the processes and all the departments, because eventually that will trickle down to, that's part of your brand. That is how you build, that's part of, I guess I would say that's partly how you build a strong quality, trustworthy brand. So you build that brand, total quality management, great customer service, customer value. You're looking at your competitors, benchmarking to see what the competitors are doing, creating something unique in the business, creating something unique that your customers are not doing. You're creating a unique service or a unique product. You're doing your research constantly, keeping up with the trends in the market. In other words, if you are running a technology firm, definitely you have to make sure you are creating, not creating, but doing research. Doing research constantly, keeping up with the trends in the market as far as technology. What is the new technology device? And is that a technology device that you can use in your business? Because if you're running the same business, another company running around the corner, down the street, across town or whatever, you're running the same type of business they are running, but they have all the latest technology. You don't have none. You haven't, managers in your business have not done any research to find out the latest technology that they can use to bring information in, because without that information within the organization, you can't get nothing done. Everything is built on information systems. What systems do you have set up in your business to create and bring in that information to help you get things done? Make those vital decisions within your organization. An information system, my degree downstairs University right here in Washington, D.C. was information systems and business administration. So in information systems, a system does not have to be a computer system. System can be anything you have set up. Say for instance, I'm running in my business, everything Cheryllee, and I need to set a system up for calculating cost of goods sold, or in accounting, cost of goods sold, or I need a system for whatever I need a system set up for. I might need a system for how I do my accounting books, how I do my bookkeeping books, whatever I need a system for, I'll set it up. I have it set up between the manager. Somebody in that company will be responsible for that job task. So in other words, the system can be you doing research and you writing something down on pen and paper, and that could be one system of how you achieve a goal for a particular assignment. Then you also can have certain teams that will set up different systems for how you want to go about achieving a particular goal. So you might need a system for a system for anything. You have a system for calculating your employees paychecks, or whatever you need a system for. You might need a certain system you may go by and do that. I assume that it is. And so whatever system, depending on what type of business you run. You could be running a nail salon or hair salon, private hair, barbershop. You're running a barbershop, cutting hair. It's a system, all. So I know when I was in school, one of the classes that I took, I think it was a computer course, and my teacher was laughing because she was like, we were talking about systems, but we were in a computer course. She was talking about systems in that course. And she just mentioned that she said sometimes you might work for a company and you be wondering, why they do things like that? Why they do things like that? That don't seem like I wouldn't have did it like that. If I had the choice, I would not have done it like that. So when she said that, I was like, she was talking about the systems, because I knew I was an information systems major, but I was in like a computer course. And she said, yeah, why? She said, I know you might be on the job one day, or you might be on the job that you're working on now, and you'll be asking yourself, why they do it like that? See, why they do it like that? You know why? Because they already have a certain system set up. That's why sometimes, when you go places, you be like, why? Even when you go down to the DMV office, you go to DMV or anywhere you go, DMV, Internal Revenue Service. I know you don't want to go over there, but unless you dare to pick a check up, really. But you go to DMV, they have everything set up. It's a certain system they have set up. That's their system. Cause I know they do have a big, they have a big lights up here, up on top. So when that light, when they call your number, the light will blink. They call your number, the light blinks with your number showing up at the top. When you go to DMV, that's the system. That's a particular system that they have set up. Let you know, they call your name and they call your number, and then it lights up in the booth. They can tell you, they might say number 234 and booth 10. That's a system. That's a system that they have set up. Now you want to get into information systems, computer information systems, using a computer to create your systems. using a computer to create your systems, or information technology, using information technology, bringing information in your business using technology. So mainframes, supercomputers, microcomputers, mini computers, laptops, fax machines, all kind of computers. They have so many different computer computer brands. We have IBM, they have their brand. We have IBM, we have HP computers, Hewlett Packard, and Microsoft responsible for software as well. And some systems, and then also we're talking about, in one of my other videos, I talked about building those information systems, just creating a system. Creating a system by using a simulation model. So a model of the real system, but it's an artificial, like a facsimile. Fax means like a copy of, like a fax machine. But in other words, you have a system that you want to set up. You want to set up a new system, but you want to study that system before you create the actual system. So you create that simulation model. That way you can analyze the simulation model, and you know exactly how you want the real system to function, to bring that information in. But so you create a simulation model in the beginning, so it's a copy of the real world system, before you actually build that, create this real system. So simulation model. That way, it's good to do that, I guess, because you can see where all your mistakes. You can see all your mistakes. So yeah, if you are creating you want to create the real system. You want to build the real system. It's a good idea. I think it would be a good idea. I know it would be a good idea to create this simulation model, a model of the real system before you actually build that system, because that way you can analyze this simulation model and see if it has any, bugs in it, or see if this system has any bugs, and when you analyze it, if you need to make some changes. You do all that to your simulation model before you create the actual system, because you don't want no mistakes. So when you create the new system, then you know, hey, I already analyzed the simulation model. I made all the changes to the simulation model before I created the real system. Because when you create a system, you want it to work. You don't want to just create a system and create the system and come to find out it doesn't work. And you need to bring that information into the business, and you created a system that doesn't even work. So that simulation model will help you make sure that creating that simulation model will help you make sure you get all the bugs out the system, all the changes you need to be made. Make those changes before you transfer everything over to the new system that you're creating. Almost like it reminded me of when I took programming. I took computer programming at State University right here in Washington D.C. That reminds me of programming too. So in other words, programming, you're creating that program and you want it to work. So it's everything has a program. So when you're doing like, I know I did, it was something I know I did computer programming. In other words, you still have in computer programming, you have an end result. So you have to go through that program and make sure you have your L's and all your program languages down to the end, and then you have an end result before you use it. Before you use that program. So that reminds me of something like that, similar program, and in that way, before you actually take that program and implement it in certain areas of your business, you want it to work. You want it to work, because I know last time when we were doing, when I was in when I took programming, we we looked at the formula, and sometimes the formula had bugs in it. You know, like a bug, you had to get the bugs out in order for the program to be functional and work. So that reminds me of that too. So like I said, marketing, advertising, promoting, you have to target markets, marketing channels, competitive advantage, how to compete with competitors, total quality management. You want to make sure you're practicing that, continuous improvement. You want to continually improve all processes and departments and organizations. So, when you bring that information in, when the managers bringing all that information in, they want it to be effective and efficient to get things done. Also, then I talked about culture. And I had a book too I read from. I got information out the book that I studied, that I used when I was at Strayer University in Washington, D.C. So, organizational behavior was a book. I was talking about culture. What type of cultural environment are you creating within your organization? So, organizational behavior and culture to me goes hand in hand, because within an organization, what type of culture are you creating? Are you creating a positive cultural environment within an organization? You also can have ethics training courses, cultural training courses. So, in other words, you're working for an organization, you're a manager, what kind of cultural environment are you creating? So you can't have an unethical cultural working environment and then let things keep going on. So you see things are unethical. A lot of things happening that are unethical. If you keep letting it go on within an organization, you're not saying nothing about it. They become normal behavior. So if that becomes normal behavior, then what can you do? What can you do? You have to make changes. Ethics training, cultural training classes for your employees. Set up certain teams, different teams. So organizational behavior is very important. An organization is one or two people or a group of people working together to achieve a particular goal. So, you have nonprofit organizations, and so what goal are they trying to achieve? Like Salvation Army, they have, I think they are non-profit, and then we have so many different organizations. Then you have for-profit organizations. They all are working together to achieve a particular goal. Yep, so they all are working together to achieve a particular goal. So like I said, marketing, advertising, promoting, but I'm not going to get too much into that. I just had some gentlemen, I just want to touch base on a few of these gentlemen, just something to talk about. I think these gentlemen would be interesting to talk about and like to shed light on, I would say. And then you can always take the names and go a little further. Do some research on them. So these gentlemen I found to be interesting I found it to be interesting when I studied, my time when I studied at Strayer University. So let's start out with a gentleman named Socrates. Socrates was a philosopher. Let me see where I want to start from. Okay, so let's start over here on this page. But Socrates, he lived in Athens, Greece, his entire life. He was an ancient Greek philosopher. He was the founder of Western philosophy, born circa 469 BC, Athens, Greece. I guess BC, I always thought BC was before Christ, but they say he was born circa 469 BC, Athens, Greece. So that's Socrates. He was a Greek philosopher. So some of the things he believed in, he was responsible for the Socratic method. Okay, some of his quotes I just want to read to you. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. The unexamined life is not worth living. So he said the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. So the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. I guess that means, to me, that would mean you are wise if you know that you don't know anything. You're wise if you know you don't know nothing. But you know how we go around thinking we know everything. Oh, I'm smart, I'm smart, and I know this and I know that. But to know that you know nothing, that makes you wise, according to Socrates. The unexamined life is not worth living. So in other words, the unexamined life is not worth living. In other words, if you don't analyze your life, examine your life, analyze your life, where to know where you're going, in the future, then the life is not worth living. You don't know where you're going. You haven't examined your life. You don't have no goals, no objectives, no plans for the future. So that's what he's saying. That's what I told him he means. The unexamined life is not worth living. So you didn't examine your life. It's not worth living. You just going about your merry way, ain't doing nothing. I don't like to say ain't, but teacher always told us, don't say ain't. Don't say that or ain't. So you just going about your way in life, just floating on a cloud, doing nothing. No plans, no goals, no objectives. Not even examining your life or trying to find out, trying to find out what is the meaning of your life, what does life have any meaning for you? You plan on having kids, a family, going to college. What do you plan on doing? You plan on running your own business? Do you plan on, so what he's saying is you didn't examine your life. Unexamined life is not worth living. You want to go to college, you want to go to medical school, you want to go to law school, you want to have a family, get married, have kids, you want to work, you want to own a daycare center, you want to get a business owner, I'm just, throwing some ideas out there. Unexamined life is not worth living, so that's what he's saying. And another thing he said, I cannot teach anybody anything, I can only make them think. I can't teach you nothing. He said, I can't teach anybody anything, I can only make them think. So I can't teach nobody nothing. I can make them think. So in other words, I can give you some little clues or some ideas, and then you have to think on your own. So I assume that's what he's talking about. I can't teach you nothing. I'm not teaching you nothing, but I can just make you think. You can think and have some ideas about what I'm talking about. And another thing, he said, there's only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. There's only one good, that's knowledge, and the evil is ignorance. So one good is knowledge. So if you know things and you have an insight about this and this, about this and that, or this or that or whatever, if you have insight about certain things, that means you have knowledge. So that's good. But evil is ignorance. I guess if you don't know nothing about nothing, then that's ignorance, so that's evil. And they have wonder is the beginning of wisdom. Wonder is the beginning of wisdom. So I guess to me that would mean if you're wondering about things, that means you're starting to become wise, you're starting to learn. You're wondering about, in other words, you're wondering about where babies come from as a kid or as an adult, or probably not an adult, but I would say as a kid, by the time we get a certain age, we know where babies come from. They used to tell us babies come from where? The stork, or babies come from the store. Sometimes kids get these little crazy answers. But, so it says, wonder is the beginning of wisdom. That's good. That means when your mind starts to wonder, you begin to become wise. You begin to have that wisdom because you're thinking about things. You're wondering about. You're like, man, I wonder how many different species are there out there. How many different species are out there in the world? How many different bird colors are there? How many different flavors of what I would say, how many different flavors of, I wouldn't say chicken, but some type of food. Well, how many different flavors are there of such and such? You begin, when you start wondering about things, or he's saying that makes you become wise. No, that's the beginning of wisdom, Yes, wonder is the beginning of wisdom. That's Socrates. And then he also says, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. The secret of change. So in other words, the secret of change. Focus all your. So in other words, he said, focus all your energy on fighting the old, or not fighting the old, and building the new. So that's the secret of change. Yeah, you can't make no changes in your life or in your situation or that situation if you keep on fighting the old instead of concentrating on the new. You want to concentrate on the new objectives in your life, the new this and the new that you have, whatever plans you have for whatever's new coming into your life. So don't focus. In other words, don't put a lot of energy on the fighting the old, but focus on the new, building the new. That's the secret to change. Building the new. Don't focus on the old. Concentrate on building the new. So that's how you make changes in your life. A lot of times we do focus on, I believe, see, a lot of these views, Socrates, Plato, Immanuel Kant, John Locke, different, and some other ones. I think I have one paper, but a lot of these views are still prevalent today. So it says, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. You want to build a new life? You have a lot of things. Sometimes you go through a lot over the years as you get older. We go through a lot, and then you keep on focusing on what we went through back in the past instead of focusing on what is ahead of us in the future. Focusing on the new. Okay, to find yourself, think for yourself. By all means, marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. See, to find yourself, think for yourself. To find yourself, think for yourself. Don't always rely on things that other people, the ideas and the plans and the goals and that other people may think for yourself. Think for yourself. And also it says a good wife. If you get a good wife, you will become happy. If you get a good wife, you'll be happy. But if you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. In other words, you get a good one, you'll be happy. But if you get a bad wife, you'll be happy. You get a bad wife, you become a philosopher. You know why? Because philosophers talk a lot, and they have their views, they philosophize. So in other words, you get a bad wife, you ain't gonna do nothing but philosophize over, oh, she didn't do this, she didn't do that, she didn't cook. Or she was a teacher and I wanted her to go to medical school, blah, blah, blah. You'll be philosophizing over that. That's probably why he said he said, by all means, marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. But if you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. And the next one is, that was kind of funny to me, but this is Socrates. I haven't gotten to Plato yet. Be slow to fall into friendship, but when you are in, continue firm and constant. Right. Be slow to fall into friendship, but when you are in, continue firm and constant. So be slow. Choose your friends. Be slow to fall into friendship. Choose your friends wisely. Don't run into no friendships fast. Eat fast, but even if you Even if you're a man and you want to be a friend with a woman, you want to have a woman as a friend, or just a regular friend. You know, in other words, he said, be slow. Be slow to fall into friendships. You don't rush yourself. Gotta get to know a person first. Also, but when you are in, continue firm and constant. So when you're into that friendship, that means be consistent, be constant. Constant means don't change the direction. Go straight ahead. So continue firm and constant. That means no turn off. So go firm and constant. So be slow to fall into friendship. But when you are in, continue firm and constant. And the next one is sometimes you put walls up, not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. So sometimes you don't put walls up to sometimes you don't put walls up. Sometimes you put walls up not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. Yes, in other words, if a person cares about you and have your best interest at heart and on their mind, that your best interest in mind, then they're going to, they may pursue you. They're going to try to show you, hey, I'm the one for you. I'm a good friend. So that's what it says. Sometimes you put walls up not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. If somebody cares enough about you, they will keep on trying to get in to try to be a friend. They're not going to give up. A good friend does not give up. A good friend does things for you. A friend is there when you need them in your time of need. So that's why I say sometimes you put walls up not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. You put your walls up because a lot of times, sometimes we are leery who we let into our, we are leery, whoever, we are leery. We get leery about people, letting certain people into our life. We don't really know nothing about them. That's all of us. And another one he says to Socrates, know thyself. Know thyself. Know that you gotta know yourself. You should not got, but you should. My teacher always told me to take, but sometimes it slips out. So know thyself. We should know ourselves at all times, but no one should know us better than we should know ourselves. No one should know us. No one should know us better than us. And another one, contentment is natural wealth. Luxury is artificial poverty. So I guess even contentment is natural wealth. So in other words, you're content with yourself, your surroundings, that's natural wealth. So basically it comes, I guess it means that it comes natural. Being content with yourself, it should come natural. You should always be content with yourself. And then he said luxury is artificial poverty. So luxury is artificial poverty. Really don't quite understand what he means by that. But I assume he means luxury is artificial poverty. So luxury, I guess luxury is artificial because we're not born with luxury. That's why he probably saying it's artificial, because when you're born, it's just a regular person. So luxury is artificial poverty. So I guess he means luxury is artificial. Artificial is something that's not real. So luxury is not nothing that we are born with. We grow up to like certain things that's luxury, that's luxurious, like a nice home, a nice car. It's artificial poverty. So artificial poverty means poverty is not real. Poverty is not real, but luxury is artificial. Artificial poverty. Little Drake in the background. So so he said, every action has its pleasures and its price. Every action has its pleasure. Every action has its pleasures and its price. Every action. So every action, that's why you have to we have to watch what we do because every action has pleasures and a price. So you say, for instance, you want to buy a house, and it could be a pleasure to buy that house, and it could be a price. It could be a bad price, it could be a good price. See, in other words, price that you pay when you purchase that home is a whole lot. You might have to give up a whole lot. You might have to cut back on eating 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day. You might have to cut back on a lot of luxury items, but put more money in the bank so you keep the bills going for that house, to keep the mortgage going every month. So I figure that would be a price to pay, but it would be a good one. I mean, you have to give up something. So it says every action has its pleasures. Buying a house could give you pleasure. You buy a house, a car, that could give you or me pleasure, but it could come at a price. It could come at a serious price, And also it says, let me see the next one is, oh, nothing is so well learned as that which is discovered. Nothing is so well learned, and that is that which is discovered. So in other words, you discover something. So I guess I could think about that in terms of what about Christopher Columbus, Balboa, different explorers. Excuse me, when they discovered the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. It says nothing is so well learned. Nothing is so well learned. Let me make sure that's. Nothing is so well learned as to which, and nothing is so well learned as that which is discovered. Nothing is so well learned as that which is discovered. So I figure nothing is. I guess when you discover something, you learn it more because you put more time into it, trying to make that discovery of reality. So that's my opinion. I'm just analyzing some of these, to trying to get a clarification of what he meant by some of these. Another one said, true wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we understand about life, ourselves, and the world around us. So that's almost similar to the other one he said. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. And this one right here is, true wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we understand about life, ourselves, and the world around us. So that's similar to the other one he said about wisdom. So when you realize that you don't know nothing, and when you realize that how you realize that you don't know a whole lot about life, you don't know a whole lot about life, ourselves, and the world around us, that gives us true wisdom. You don't know a whole lot about, when you realize that you don't know a whole lot about life, life, ourselves, and the world around us. And we realize we don't know a lot about that, then that is when true wisdom comes for us, to us. And another one, those who are hardest to love need it the most. Those who are hardest to love need it the most. That's Socrates. Those who are hardest to love need it the most. 9 times out of 10, I could believe that. Those who are hardest to love need it the most. Because those who are hardest to love probably the ones that's out there doing so much of this and that. And they're hard for you to love them because they're doing so much. And they're not opening themselves up to be loved. Because they're out there, they're doing this, they're doing that. And sometimes they figure, I don't need nobody's love. I'm on my own, I'm moving here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So those are the ones that need more love. So that's what he's saying about that. He got another one. Be nicer than necessary to everyone you meet. Everyone is fighting some kind of battle. So be nicer than necessary to everyone you meet. Be nicer than necessary to everyone you meet, because everybody fighting some type of problems or battles. So that's what he's saying too on that one. So I think that is all for Socrates. Okay, let's talk about Mr. Plato. Okay, Plato was the first. Plato was an Athenian philosopher of the classical period, founder of the Plotinus School of Thought and Academy, and it was the first institution of higher learning. And one of his quotes: "Love is a serious mental disease." Love is a serious mental disease. I believe that sometimes. But sometimes people can be so much in love. Love make you do some crazy things. I can almost feel them on this one. Yeah, love is a serious mental disease. Sometimes you can be so much in love, you don't want to eat, you don't want to go to school, you don't want to go to work, you don't even want to take a bath. Really. Love is a serious mental disease. So it's almost kind of like I believe some people when you fall in love, it's almost like a disease. It's like, you can't. I won't see you with nobody else. It ain't gonna happen. You're mine for dear life. Another one, thinking, the talking. If you're thinking, he said, the talking of the soul with itself. So if you're thinking, you're talking to your soul. Say thinking, the talking of the soul with itself. So you're talking to your soul. If you're thinking about something, you're talking to your soul. You're talking the soul within your body, I guess. And another one, your silence gives consent. Your silence gives consent. So in other words, if somebody asks you a question and you don't say anything, that's your consent. That reminds me of when I was taking my business law course, when we were talking about the contract, and we talked about if say for instance you have a house and somebody's outside cutting down your tree, or even somebody cutting your grass. Say for instance somebody cutting your grass or cutting down your tree or whatever, cutting your grass, and you go out there and you knew you needed somebody to do it, and you were going to pay them. You would pay anybody to do it, So you had a sign in the yard saying, "Look, looking for somebody to cut my grass and cut down my tree. I'm gonna pay you." So you go outside and you see somebody cutting your grass and cutting the tree down and cutting your grass, but you ain't saying anything. You were silent. So when you didn't say nothing, that could be a contract, or you would have to definitely pay them. In other words, you went out there and you saw them cutting the grass, but you didn't say anything. You didn't tell them to stop, and the sign was already in the yard saying that you were looking for somebody to cut the tree down and somebody to cut the grass. When the guy went home and got the lawnmower and started cutting the grass, you look at him, you saw him, but you didn't say nothing. So that I would think about that. That could demonstrate that could be a contract. So it says silence gives consent. So it's Socrates. Another one, he says he was also known as the father of idealism. It's Plato. Your silence gives consent. So this is Plato. I finished Socrates. So he was known as the father of idealism. That's Plato. Also, Plato dealt with metaphysics. He envisioned the systematic rational treatment of forms and their interrelations. So envision the systematic rational treatment of the forms and their interrelations. So envision the systematic rational treatment. So setting up a system, I guess to me I would say that it was a system that was set up. He said he envisioned a system, systematic. So in other words, there was some type of system set up. How they were given rational treatment in the different forms, like I guess, the different species, different forms of human life, not human life, but different forms of the species. So it says, envision a systematic rational treatment of the forms and their interrelations, how they interact together, how different species interact together, and like a system set up. And then another thing said, so he also dealt with ethics and moral psychology. He developed the view that the good life requires not just a certain kind of knowledge. So the good life requires not just a certain kind of knowledge. Also, he proposed Plato. He said Plato proposed that our lives go wrong in large part because we almost never give ourselves time to think carefully and logically enough about our plans, and so we end up with the wrong values, careers, and relationships. That's true. I can feel him on this one too. So he proposed that our lives go wrong because a lot of times we don't give ourselves time to think carefully and logically enough about our plans. We don't think about our plans. We just think off the top of our head. Sometimes we say anything. We don't have a plan for this or a plan for that. So he said that we don't have a plan for our careers, our values, or our relationships. So sometimes we do have to think. We don't want to just, I try not to just jump into relationships. Relationships, friendships, values, careers. Sometimes you have to stop and think. Sometimes you think off the top of your head. You react so fast. Sometimes you can make a wrong decision. It can be dangerous. So that's what he's saying. Propose that our lives go wrong. Our lives go wrong because we don't give ourselves time enough to think. We don't give ourselves time enough to think carefully and logically. We jump into this, we jump into that. In other words, you might want to buy a car, and but sometimes you might say, hey, before you think about it, you don't think the person might not have thought enough about it, just went out there and purchased a car, come to find out, you got all these bills over here when you get back home. I should have went out there and purchased that car and signed my name on dotted line. I should have signed my name on dotted line for this house. I didn't think carefully and logically. Now I got this big mortgage to pay and this big car note, car insurance, and I still have my other bills over here because I still have to pay for my place to stay. I have to have food, So that is another one. And then also, I'm not going to read all of his. Plato he was a student and a follower of Socrates because he was one of the students of Socrates. Okay, and also Plato, he was a student of Socrates. Socrates was the one that said the unexamined life is not worth living. So Plato was his student. Plato was Socrates' student. Plato wrote this account. He wrote the account of the trial that Socrates was on his trial. Because Socrates, like I mentioned in my previous video, Socrates was put on trial for corrupting the youth of Athens through his speeches that he went around town speaking. His speeches he went around town speaking about the youth, and they say he was corrupting the youth, so they put him on trial. I mean, that's something to be put on trial because you go around making speeches. So a lot of times you have to watch out for different. Well, nowadays too, you still have to watch out for different laws in different states when you go to different states. They have different laws set up that you can go over there and do something, and you can realize, what? I didn't know that was against the law. Next thing you know, you're in jail. You go in another state. Next thing you know, you're in jail. You didn't read up on the laws before you went into that state. You went into Maryland, Virginia, D.C., whatever state that you were in. You're going in. Wisconsin, Maine, New York. Read up on those laws before you go. So it says, Plato was, he wrote an account of Socrates' trial because Socrates drunk the fatal hemlock, but he had a chance not to drink it, but he drunk it anyway, and he died. So it says Plato's account of that trial was called the Apology. So I mean, a lot of these writings you can probably look them up online, and Plato does have books that you can purchase. You can read more about Socrates, Plato, John Locke, Adam Smith, different ones that I talked about. And so let's say another one. He said, or here another one. He said, Plato, opinion is the medium between knowledge and ignorance. If a man neglects education, he walks lame to the end of his life. All men are by nature equal, made of the same earth by one workman, as by God. Books give a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. And what he say about books? I kept all my books. When I was at Australian University, I kept all my books. Because I always go back. Nothing wrong with going back and review. So another gentleman I talked about in my previous video, B.F. Skinner. So B.F. Skinner was an American psychologist, professor of psychology at Harvard University. He retired in 1974. 1974, he was the one responsible for operant conditioning theory. Learning is a function, this is one of the theories he had. Learning is a function of change in overt behavior. Learning is a function of change in overt behavior. So learning is a function of change. So in other words, if you learn, basically, I assume that he meant that if you learn something, like me, I learned accounting. I learned computer programming, I learned information systems, I took networking courses. So I figured, just an example, it says learning is a function of change. So when I learned that information in those books, so all the information. So when I learned the information in those books, then that gave me access to change. Because it had to give me access to change, because I would never have learned accounting, and I'm glad I did, because I learned accounting, I learned some business courses, information systems courses, I took ethics courses. So it was a catalyst, I guess I use that word, it was a catalyst for change. So what B.F. Skinner is saying is that reinforcement is a key element of operant conditioning. So that a change in behavior are a result of an individual's response to events, stimuli that occur in the environment. So in other words, a stimuli is something that can almost like provoke you to do something good or bad. It stimulated you. So in dealing with reinforcement, in other words, like I said in my previous video, this is the operant conditioning. In other words, if you know you are going to get reinforcement, positive reinforcement that is. So he talks about negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement. So if you know you are going to get positive reinforcement, say for instance you passed all 5 of your tests, and your parents told you previously, if you pass all 5 of your tests within the next, I would say 2 months, then I'll buy you a car. That's positive reinforcement. So it says reinforcement, the key elements to operant conditioning, positive reinforcement, and you also have positive punishment, negative reinforcement. So negative reinforcement would be something like, nobody wants negative reinforcement. In other words, your parents say, look, you passed all those tests. And the negative reinforcement would be, you get nothing. You just passed because you should have passed, So, but with that, and then also he wanted I guess his goal was to see if you would still keep up that same behavior. That's what it's all about. Keeping up the same behavior. In other words, when you pass all 5 of your tests, for instance, my son or my daughter, you pass all 5 of those tests, I'll get you a new car. But after I get you that new car, will you still keep up that certain behavior as far as doing your homework and passing all your tests? Because I can't buy you no really. I can't buy you no car every time you take a test. So that's what he means. That's what he kind of meant, I believe. Not I believe. I assume that I guess I assume that he looking for that behavior at the end. Will they keep on showing that same type of behavior? So, operant conditioning, where stimuli increases the chance. Yeah, see, when stimuli increases the chance of repetition of previous behavior. That's called reinforcement. So, operant conditioning. So, when that behavior, can you keep up that same good behavior if I give you that positive reinforcement? I bought you that new car. Now, will you still keep up those grades? Are you going to still keep on doing your homework, studying, and making those good grades? So another quote, he said, the brain's ability to develop and change in response to experiences. Yes, and I guess certain experiences would make you make a change in your brain and your mental capacity, I would say. So the brain's ability to develop change in response to experiences. Yeah, a lot of things that we experience does have a lot to do with how change comes about in our lives, I would say. And another thing, offering conditioning, increasing or decreasing the probability that a specific behavior will occur in the future. See, so with that reinforcement, he's saying that behavior, whether positive or negative, will keep continuing in the future. So if I tell you that if I say, go to the store for me, if you go to the store for me, I'll give you, if you go to the store for me 2 days a week, I'll give you, my reinforcement would be, I'll give you $20, go to the store for me. So will that be proper reinforcement to make you want to go to the store for me, even if I don't give you $20, Or is it just because I gave you $20 and the only reason why you want to go to the store for me? Will you keep on going to the store for me in the future? So positive reinforcement that keeps going on, over and over and over in the future. So behavior, keeping that same momentum going, I gave her $20, so, she's going to be like, well, I'll go to the store for you, get that money and keep that same behavior going, be consistent. Well, sometimes people don't want to do nothing for you unless you get some type of reinforcement anyway. So I kind of feel what he's saying on that one. Okay, so let me move to another. I've got a whole lot. Here's another one. Let's talk about Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was an American essayist. So essayist, writing essays. He grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, went to Harvard University. I don't know if it was a university, but it said went to Harvard. And it might have been school at the time, but it said went to Harvard 1821. Imagine, that's over 200 years ago. Worked as a school teacher. He was a prolific poet, essayist, and proper lecturer, and an advocate of social reforms. So he wanted, he was interested in social reforms. One of his beliefs was he saw a direct connection between man, nature, and God. Let's see what else is on there. Let me check these lines real quick. Okay, he was a prolific poet, essayist, popular lecturer, and an advocate of social reforms. Beliefs. He saw a direct connection between man, nature, and God. It says, he said, intuition provides, this is one of the quotes. He said, intuition provides a human subject with a vision of the very mechanism that governs the universe. The intuition of the moral sentiment is an insight of the perfection of the laws of the soul. So he said, so this is Ralph Waldo Emerson. Like I said, he went to Harvard University. He was an essayist, poet, writing essays, poetry. He said, so he saw the direct connection between man, nature, and God. He said, intuition provides a human subject with a vision of the very mechanism that governs the universe. The intuition of the moral sentiment is an insight of the perfection of the laws of the soul. Laws of the soul. Let me see what else he said. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he was considered to be America's intellectual Declaration of Independence. So it says, and also he was a lecturer, poet, essayist. He was in the transcendentalist movement of the mid-19th century. So he was an American essayist, lecturer, and poet. So you can also look Ralph Waldo Emerson up, find out more about him. So another gentleman I talked about previously, Pavlov and his dog theory. He was born 9/14, 1849. So like I said, that was over 200 years ago. And he dealt with classical conditioning. So B.F. Skinner dealt with operant conditioning. B.F. Skinner dealt with operant conditioning. Now we have Pavlov, classical conditioning. So Pavlov was a Russian physiologist, and on his study of the digestive system of dogs, he noted that animals salivated naturally upon the presentation of food. So in other words, in his experiment, he noticed that when you give animals food, like the dog, he released the saliva. It's called saliva. He released the saliva. I can't even say it. Well, saliva. So he noticed that when he did his experiment, he gave the dog some food, and he released his saliva naturally, as opposed to not giving him any food. While researching the digestive function of dogs, he noted his subjects would salivate before the delivery of food. So when they know they were going to get their food, they released the saliva. When they knew they were going to get their food, but as opposed to not giving them any food at all, they didn't release any saliva. So that is classical conditioning, Pavlov, and the other one, operant conditioning, B.F. Skinner. So you can look those up. Pavlov, classical conditioning, B.F. Skinner, operant conditioning. So operant conditioning, that reinforcement, in other words, you say, look, I'll give you $10 if you go to the store for me. So that person, that reinforcement will make them want to go to the store for you, and they'll carry that behavior on in the future. So that's what he wanted to see. If you implement positive reinforcement, what would the reaction be for the future, or as opposed to negative reinforcement? It's just like you have a child and you say, they did something bad, not to go back to operant conditioning, but you have a child and they did something bad, you say stand in the corner. Is that negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement? And when they keep on being bad, if you tell them to stand in the corner, time out. So that negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement? It's almost like negative reinforcement. I guess a snack probably would be a positive reinforcement. But so future behavior was his goal, B.F. Skinner. Also, we have John Locke. I talked about him previously too. The most influential philosopher. All these were philosophers. They had their own philosophies. A lot of their views are being used today. You can check out a lot of them have books and writings, and you can learn more about them. I guess I would say, what's the word I want to use? Introducing. I'm just introducing the names, and you can always take it further. Okay, John Locke was a political philosopher. He was the most influential philosopher of the modern period. He had two treaties on government, talking about government. And some of his views were, this is quotes. I go online and I look up all the quotes. Men are by nature free and equal against claims that God had made all people naturally subject to a monarch. So in other words, a monarch is a king of a particular country or city. Men are by nature free and equal against claims. They're free and equal against claims that God had made all people naturally subject to a monarch. So, free and equal. Free and equal against claims. So, free and equal against claims that God had made all people naturally subject to a monarch. So, in other words, everybody's not naturally subjected to a monarch or king. So, in other words, he's saying by nature, man was free against by nature, man was free and equal against any claims that God had made. God had made people naturally subject to a monarch. So in other words, they're saying that man was free of that to any claim that God had made the man naturally subject to a king. Then we have Locke. He believed that the most basic human law of nature is the preservation of mankind. He believed that the most basic human law of nature is the preservation of mankind. So in other words, preservation means to preserve. Preserving mankind was basic law of nature, according to Locke. Locke believed that the most basic human law of nature is the preservation of mankind, preserving mankind. The most basic law of human nature is preserving man, preserving humans. No one ought to harm another in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Education begins the gentleman. But reading good company and reflection must finish him. No one ought to harm another. That's true. Nobody should harm nobody. Health, liberty in his life, health, liberty, or possessions. Nobody should harm. Nobody should take your life, your health, your liberty, or your possessions. Nobody should take none of that. And then it says education begins the gentleman, but reading good company and reflection must finish him. So, good company, reflection, I guess, means looking back on your life. So they said that must finish him. So that's according to John Locke. Education begins the gentleman. So that was education begins the gentleman. That sounds like education may build the character of a man. Education builds the man. That's what it says. Education begins. That's what it says. Education begins with gentlemen. But reading, then when you start reading, so you built yourself, you are being built by education. And then you already been built, so then I'm going to say gentlemen. But reading, good company, and reflection. So you start reading, you start keeping good company, and you start reflecting back on your life and the things that you want to do, the goals that you want to accomplish. That's it. Then he said that must finish him. So that finishes the man in the end. So I assume that's what he meant. Then we have another one we call Aristotle. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher, but he passed away. So Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Let me see what kind of music. I like good songs. So Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. That's almost similar to what Plato and Socrates said about wisdom. The wisest person is the person that knows he knows nothing. So that's Socrates. And then Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So they all three of them had similar views. So all three of them had similar views. And also Aristotle says it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain, although without accepting it. It's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. So in other words, you could be educated, and some thought comes in your mind, you don't have to accept it, but you can still be educated. You can be educated on how that thought came about, but what that thought means or what subject it was pertaining to, but you don't have to accept it, so you can still be educated. And it said, what is a friend? A single soul dwelling in two bodies. What is a friend? A single soul dwelling in two bodies. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So if you educate your mind, I mean, that seems true to me. If you educate your mind, but you're not educating your heart is cold, you cold-hearted. But you educating your mind, you cold-hearted, you don't believe what your mind just learned. And you cold-hearted, you don't have no heart, but, no feeling about what you learn, no feeling, no heart. Then it says there's no education at all. So that's Aristotle. Also, Aristotle says, they said, if you go online, you still find the writings, the books, the readings of a lot of these gentlemen, all of them really, because that's what they are. All their quotes, all their writings, and all their books right online. So it says, Aristotle, his ethics has always been influential and still to this day remains true, wise enough for everybody to take note of. So you can go online, you can read it on Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, John Locke, B.F. Skinner, Pavlov, and a whole lot of them. They're all online. Aristotle says democracy arose from men's thinking that if they are equal in any respect, they are equal absolutely. Democracy arose from men's thinking. So, democratic, I guess you're talking about the democratic government. You had the Republican, you had the democratic democracy, government of, by, and for the people. Democracy arose from men's thinking that if they are equal in any respect, they are equal absolutely. And then Aristotle says equality consists in the same treatment of similar persons. He also said happiness depends upon ourselves. So you can't, you know how sometimes you're in a relationship and think that your mate's supposed to be the one to make you happy. No, we have to make ourselves happy. We have to make ourselves happy. It says happiness depends upon ourselves. So a lot of these things, a lot of these quotes, I can feel them. I feel them on these quotes. You know, Socrates, Plato, John Locke, Aristotle, B.F. Skinner, Pavlov. So it says happiness depends upon ourselves. And we have to make ourselves happy. We can't depend on our mate or our husband, our wife, even our cousins, mothers and fathers to make us happy. You have to make yourself happy. Pursue your dreams and your goals. So I went to school, got my degree. That made me happy. I got married, had a family, got a college degree, and so that made me happy. I did what made me happy. Happiness depends upon yourself, ourselves. What do you want to do to make you happy? Sometimes we get in relationships. I know I have done it over the past too. You get in a relationship, you think your mate's supposed to be, you think your mate's supposed to make you happy. They're supposed to make you happy in the sense of meet you halfway in that relationship. But when it comes to your life and what you want to do with your future and your life, you have to think about the things that's going to make you happy. What makes you happy? You know, your mate cannot, or your husband, your wife, or whoever that you depend on, rely on, don't never depend on nobody else to make you happy. Because they disappoint you all the time. Some of the time anyway. But really, it's not their responsibility. It's not their responsibility to make you happy. The only thing they're supposed to do is meet you halfway in that relationship. Make sure they're not cheating, you're not cheating, you come together, you're communicating, you're doing everything together as far as that. But when it comes to your personal well-being, your personal health, and your personal aspects, goals, and objectives, you have to make yourself happy. So it is well to be before daybreak, for such habits contribute to health, wealth, and wisdom. Certain habits that he's saying will contribute to your health, your wealth, and your wisdom. Certain habits. You got the wrong. If you have the wrong, let me take God out of my vocabulary. If you are carrying out the wrong habits, that goes against your health and your wealth and your wisdom as well. How can you learn anything? You want to become wise. How can you learn anything if you have the wrong habits? That's what it's saying. It says, for such habits contribute. For such habits. What habits are you implementing? What habits are you carrying on within your life, throughout your life? For such habits contribute to health, wealth, and wisdom. If you are implementing the wrong habits, could be dangerous to your health, your wealth, and your wisdom. But if you want to become wise, you want to continue to be wise, then you will have. It says it is well to be before daybreak. For such habits contribute to health, wealth, and wisdom. Another one right here. Man is a goal-seeking animal. Really? Man is a goal-seeking animal. His life only has meaning if he is reaching out and striving for his goals. I feel you on that, Aristotle. I really do. I feel you on that one. Man is a goal-seeking animal. His life only has meaning if he is reaching out and striving for his goals. That's the same thing with women. Everybody. Everyone strive for our goals. That's the only thing that's going to make us happy. His life only has meaning if he is reaching out and striving for his goals. It says man. Man is a goal-seeking animal. Somewhere. And also, he said, Aristotle said, you get a little dance in there. It says, dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them. Dignity. So if you have dignity for yourself and your family and people around you, then it says dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them. So if you have dignity, then 9 times out of 10 you deserve it. every rascal is not a thief, but every thief is a rascal. And that's Aristotle. Every rascal is not a thief. But I took a course. This phrase reminds me of a course that I took called logic. So in other words, if you go outside and it's raining outside, you go outside and you come back in. Logically, I mean, not necessarily that it was raining, so let somebody pour some water on you. But in other words, if it's raining out there, you know it's raining, but you go outside. You drive before you go out, but you know it was raining. You go out, you come back in, you all soaking wet because you ain't had no umbrella. But logically speaking, it was raining out there, and you drive before you went out there. But when you came back in, you were wet. So logically, you got wet. Let me take that out of my vocabulary. Although I always slip up and say that, but you you went outside and you came back and you were soaking wet. So that's logic. It was raining. Logically speaking, you went out there with no umbrella. You were wet. You were wet and you came back in. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. So if poverty is the parent of revolution and crime, so revolution and crime must be the children. Revolution and crime, okay, it kind of makes sense. But poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. So if you have revolution and crime, and then poverty, so in other words, if the parent is impoverished, if the parent is experiencing, they are on the poverty level and they're living in their homes, their finances and all that, they are poverty stricken, I guess he's saying that will bring forth crime, because a lot of times, a lot of impoverished neighborhoods, there's more crime in those neighborhoods, because you're not going to go in California or Beverly Hills or somewhere in California. I've never been to California, but Beverly Hills, I think up there somewhere. You may not find a whole lot of crime as opposed to a lot of these poverty-stricken areas. So in other words, poverty is a parent of revolution and crime. So revolution and crime is children of poverty. Kind of makes sense. And another one, he said, the soul never thinks without a picture. Hope is the dream of a waking man. Hope is a waking dream. And he said, we are what we repeatedly do. That's true. So if you smoke a lot, then you're a smoker. So if you get up teaching every day, you're a teacher. Excellence, it says we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. Excellence is not an act but a habit. So if you have a habit of being excellent in everything you do, then so it says excellence then is not an act but it's a habit. You have a habit of being excellent in everything you do. So I think that was it. So that's it. So just wanted to touch base on a few. So just want to touch base on a few little things like Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. So that was Socrates, but I'm not going to hold this video too much longer, but I just want to touch base on a few of those gentlemen. You can always look them up. You can always go back and go online and look and, read more about them, read some of their writings and some of their books. I will be probably introducing some other gentlemen probably in the next video. So Socrates, Plato, B.F. Skinner, Ivan Pavlov, We have Descartes, that's a different one, Descartes. And then so Socrates, Plato, B.F. Skinner, and Pavlov, or another one I didn't talk about, what I talked about previously. So different ones you can, go online and look them up. Also Henry David Thoreau, I talked about him in my previous video. He was a writer. He was a graduate of Harvard University as well. He went he went to the woods on Waldo Pond, not too far from where he lived. He lived in the woods 2 days, 2 years, well, 2 years, 2 months, 2 days on Walden Pond, or by Walden Pond in Concord, Massachusetts. And also he inspired millions around the world who seek solutions to critical environmental and societal challenges. So he was a mentor of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Just a few of the things I wanted to mention. He wanted to go down to the woods, so he wanted to get back to nature. He wanted to see if he could drive life into a corner. He wanted to drive life into a corner, suck all the marrow out of life. So imagine you think about driving life into a corner, sucking all the marrow out of life. So I think he wanted to see how close to death he could come. See if he could survive. See how close to death he could become. They said he was one of the most influential writers in America. In collected works, his collected works were filled with 20 volumes. I think started in 1906, a long time ago. Unquestionably, Thoreau enjoys greater national and international popularity today than ever before. His books are selling at an unprecedented rate. So you can still check out his books of Socrates, Plato, Henry David Thoreau. So he also graduated from Harvard University. So like I said, he spent 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. Imagine you going down in the woods 2 years, 2 days, and 2 months. And, you leave all your luxuries at home. You want to go down there, you want to confront the essential things in life. No swimming pool, no refrigerator with all the snacks that you want, no cell phone. Well, back then they didn't have any cell phones anyway. So imagine that. So he was a naturalist. See, as a naturalist of the natural world around us and of which we are part, we can never have enough nature. He's one of the most influential writers America has produced. So he wanted to confront nature. He stayed down there for 2 years, 2 days, and 2 months. Imagine down in the woods 2 years, 2 days, and 2 months. I mean, what food did you live off of? He must have lived off the insects. He must have lived off the insects in the woods. So I think that was it. So in other words, he wanted to confront. He wanted to confront. He wanted to confront the essential things in life. So nature, essential things in life. The trees, the grass, insects, the ponds. So he probably had plenty of water. 2 years, 2 days, 2 months. Imagine staying down there that long. And he survived. I guess he survived. So I guess later on he did die. And Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote the eulogy when David Thoreau passed away. So he wanted to confront the essential things in life. He wanted to drive life he wanted to back life into a corner, suck all the marrow out of life, and he wanted to see at the end was life mean like the devil, or was it nice like God? So I'm thinking that what's up, sonny boy? So he wanted to back life into a corner, suck all the marrow out of life. So he was He was a naturalist. He was a naturalist that believed in nature and land and water. But read more on him, David Thoreau, and Socrates, Plato, B.F. Skinner, Alan Pavlov, John Locke, Adam Smith. There's a whole lot of them, so I will be introducing different ones, in my videos to come. But I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Glad to see you. Hope to see you in my next video. So subscribe. So subscribe below, comment below, and I hope to see you back again on my next video. And if you want to, when you comment below, if there are any gentlemen, any philosophers in our past that you want me to know about that I might not know about, because when I was at Australia University, we learned a lot about a whole lot of them, but it may be something I don't know about. But comment below, subscribe below. If you have any, I don't mind doing a little research so I can find out more about them. So, I will never mind learning. I never mind learning new things. Education is a never-ending, process or thing. Education, as long as you're still here, there's always something to learn. So thanks for joining me, and it's about time to get a little dinner. Get a little dinner fixed, but comment below, subscribe below, and like I said, any gentlemen, any philosophers, anybody that you want me to learn more about that you may think I don't know, or I don't mind doing research and bringing it right in front of my channel, on my channel. So thanks for joining me. Hope to see you back again. So comment below, subscribe below, and I'll see you on my next video. And so you all have a good one. See what I'm saying?